James, I thought it's the best that I share with you on the video message because it's just easier to explain. I'll try to make it easy to understand without going into too much details because if you go into a restaurant, you don't always ask for, you are more concerned of the food than to understand what utensils they use and what kind of recipe they have, how they cook it, right? And being too aware or conscious of the technique the coach is using sometimes helps. And I will also explain what I think you need to understand in the process. Sometimes it may be a bit, removing you from being fully in that experience. Nonetheless, to answer your question, first of all, what methods do I use? I mainly use two kind of main frameworks. One is transformative coaching. So there are also coaches who are very focused on the tactical aspect, and then they look for a solution and they work with the, accountability sort of things. But transformative coaching is focusing on a lot more on awareness. So for the client to be aware of how he's perceiving the situation and how he's responding to things both emotionally and rationally, and how he's perceiving the situation. And to do that, the coach will always need to take you in a helicopter view versus being on the ground with you so that we can remove and discard a lot of the unnecessary details for us to gain the kind of clarity at a much higher level. Sometimes that high level may mean that we are looking at a different horizon in terms of at the life level, or it could be about the current moment, what other aspects also matter to the person. So it's a very holistic, whole person approach instead of saying, okay, we work with the context, this is the job, this is the boss, this is the company. The other thing that I work a lot is it's really that I hold very close to my heart is about the client has a huge amount of wisdom. So I don't do a lot of, say, guiding, especially with people who are experienced and mature enough. We work a lot to fish out some of those wisdom that is not fully aware of by the client. So it's a co-creation process. For example, there are clients who believe in certain things, and we work with those values because it's not making sense if I talk to a Asian female who believes she should be very humble and not step on other people's toes. There's no point in saying you should become someone who's just so bold like a lion woman and like some of the role model as a successful woman. We have to work with whatever you have come to embrace as part of you, your values and your ideal version of self, and to see what will allow you to truly live that version of yourself, right? Um, to come down to a bit on the technique level, there are a few key techniques among many that I use a lot. Definitely the first and foremost, and I'm doing all the time, is on reflection. So the coach is like a vessel who is holding the space. And I would hold it, for example, if you, when we spoke yesterday, your feeling of heaviness, it came on me. I felt it. Your tension, I felt it. But my role is not just about I'm feeling it, but also I'm telling you, I can feel your tension. I can feel your weight. And some of these often the client fails to acknowledge. And we know subconsciously something is going on, but we don't consciously know how prominent that is. So that's also part of the coach's job is to say, I'm seeing you just like I'm a mirror. I'm seeing you debating with something that you feel very risky. I'm seeing you making assumptions on certain things. I'm seeing you in all these ways. So that reflection. But I don't reflect with, say, you told me this, so I'm saying this. It's not paraphrase. It's again reflecting from a high level, big picture. I do a lot of acknowledging, as I shared just now. Feelings and sensibility is something we constantly overlook and is so vital to us living that version we want, um, instead of reasoning. But at the same time, I do work a lot with our logics. And as you know, I come from a tech background. I'm trained in computer science, and I have my very overpowering logic side of me sometimes. So I do work with that to kind of identify what framework you're operating with and how we can reframe that. And to do that, in that process, there will be a lot of questioning. So it's questioning, reflecting, and validating. Because sometimes what I reflect to you may not be what you actually feel, because that's what I'm seeing, and it may not be true. So what I need from you is really, you can share with me, no, Yolanda, you heard me wrongly, and let me clarify. So that really helps us to co-create the space, for us to work better. It's like I also polish up the mirror for you to see a better picture of what you are struggling with and what you are aiming to achieve. We do a lot of visioning. So coming back to the transformative framework, it's really about a lot about awareness, knowing where you are, what you are struggling with, and also about where you want to get to. And coaching is about transporting. So, you know, the word coach is like a carriage that takes you from one place to another. So it's really about moving you from where you are after understanding that and transporting you into where you really want to be. And to do that, we have to define how that state looks like. So there's quite a bit of visioning, and that brings a lot of positive psychology power, to put it this way. However, you may notice that I want to be there, I'm here, but I see a lot of things holding me back from being able to complete that change. And then we would be again using this sort of questioning and reflection method to go in and see, what is this power of holding you back? What is holding you back? How are you looking at things, right? And we zoom in and zoom in. And so this also is a constant process of opening up possibilities to remove some of the perceptions, and then again zooming in. So it's like zooming out, we step out, take a step back, and then zoom into something hyper sharp that is going to be crucial for us to make that change. And again, when we see something, again, there we are going to open up the space to zoom out, right? So that's just what you kind of want to expect. Yeah, without noticing, I'm just too passionate and again, giving you a lot of details. But yeah, I hope you enjoy that. Tools. I'm flexible, but I think the biggest tools we use is really you and me, in terms of the full being, not just our brain, our mind, but also the feelings, the sensing capability, which often carry a lot more secrets to opening, unlocking some of the things. Being fully present, being able to sort of reserve some time before our session and reserve some time after our session, so that you don't jump out of a meeting, jump into this and then jump into another meeting, because this is a reflection space for you to get in touch with yourself. And if you don't leave that space before and after, it's going to be difficult for you to have that comfort. But tools I do, there are times when there are too many rational things happening. Instead of refusing them, I actually use a PPT as a drawing board to kind of put them all on the table, and then we start to move them around, and then we come back to a place where we wipe off them or keep a few key things on the board. But a lot of times I just use a simple drawing. I have drawn a lot of things in the past for my clients, such as, yeah, as basic as this or as basic as this. But they find them powerful. A lot of times these things stay in their mind for a very long time, even after the entire coaching engagement. We sometimes, when the client is comfortable and when the client is overthinking, we use meditation and breathing kind of for a few minutes to just come into a more, engaged space with ourselves than allowing the brain to go overdrive. I can, depending on the client, use a lot of metaphor. If you, again, if you are visual, if you connect well with that, or you may be more philosophical, and there are clients we work a lot on philosophy as well. But yeah, so in general, this can be a very powerful tool if the client is up for it. But if it's not, I will tailor it with some other approach. But in general, how we can use, something to go onto the helicopter view. For that, I have yet to discover more about you. What is the best way of working with you, and what helps? I don't know. Now, the best I can do is to really pause my judgment and go along with you in this discovery journey to understand more about your whole operating system, right? If outcome, I may, in general, I would say that I see a lot of people from a lot of this messiness of thoughts and this chaotic view of life and career. I'm definitely moved into a space with very clarity, but that is only the thing we anchor on. That's only the topic. What matters is in the process, the person learned a lot more about himself or herself. So one example is this morning, I just had a session with a client. She's debating between two really high caliber roles, but she's starting to see that she has given a lot of power to everyone else, her advisor, her husband, her um, mentors and all that, but she has silenced herself. And what that means is like inviting 20 people into your office and they talk. After they talk, you yourself, actually, that your real self has been locked in a dark room, not being allowed to speak up. So no one is there to make a decision, right? So for her, the takeaway is not, by end of this session, is not about her determination, which she did get to go for one of the roles, but really it's about this situation in life that she has been always allowing others to talk a lot more in her world than for herself. And what that that pattern appears everywhere. And what that shows to us is a deeper level of unwillingness to take risk. So you kind of push that risk to others to shoulder for you, but later you realize they don't really shoulder that risk because they're not responsible for it, right? And yeah, things as such. So that deeper learning, you are going to see once you have that, there are a lot of things in life in general shift. It's not only about the topic that is presented on the table. And but it varies from person to person. But I do see it's one is this this real topic we are working on, and the other one is this discovery along the way. They are valued a lot more. I think, and again, still, if we stick to the presenting topic, say of career, or say as we would discover some of this and say, okay, I want to be different in how I show up. For example, in this case, I want to be different in taking my own responsibility, owning it up. Then we would be looking at, okay, then what needs to shift in your life, right, for you to show up differently, and how we can make that happen. And this is really the second half after the awareness is grown, is how we can implement those in our day-to-day behaviors, how we can stay aware and observe and catch ourselves falling for the same pattern again and again, how we can make a different choice at different moments. So this is, after awareness, is about choice. And in this choice, when we implement that, there may be some practical issues, and then we will work along with that to make this change sustainable, and to keep the person accountable, and just make things happen, make the real change, right? So I often see my clients after we are over that awareness phase and into the choice phase, and they say, I've made the choice to do this, and there's still a lot of work to do, because then it's like, okay, I understand what I need to do, and I understand I want to do it, but I'm still having problem doing it. So we zoom into those problems, and we have a new round of awareness and choice, and then implementation of the behavior change, right? But in general, I find that part much easier because the person is aligned that I want to do it, and I want to, I know what it is. So lastly, on Google, I do know a thing or two, having worked with multiple of Googlers at different level, and I have a few personal friends in Google as well. So the answer is yes and no. I think Google has very specific things such as, you have a process, you have 360, and then you measure things that are your performance at work, and you measure your influence that is outside your current scope. So it sounds like a great thing, but I feel like Google is no different from any other company. Which also claim they have a process, but in the end, the real promotion is largely relied on who likes you, who had a great impression of you, who supports you. Does your manager really acknowledge you a lot and want you to be promoted? That I think that in practical life still plays a very big part, much more than all the 360 and all the impact sort of things play. But we can discuss, because where you are and who you work with would still also impact your experience in this whole promotion process, and your seniority often also makes a difference as well. So I can't say for sure I know what exactly you are dealing with, but my senses are people are much higher weighted than process, which is so-called the rule of the game. The unspoken rules mattering a lot more than the spoken ones, even in Google. I don't think there should be a big difference. Yeah. Okay, so I think this is a bit long. Have fun, and thanks for listening all the way to here, or fast forwarding. Happy to maybe give you some references if you are the sort that you want to even get more evidence. But yeah, but if you still have any thoughts or any clarity that you need from me, let me know, and I'll see how I can best support you. All right. Thank you.